Woo! Limousine riding, jet flying, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, son of a gun that can kiss any girl and make her cry. That's what we think about with Ric Flair. And definitely, Ric Flair is one of those people like Vince McMahon or CM Punk, or Donald Trump. That's definitely somebody that has a bunch of problems, has a bunch of issues, and chooses to be an asshole, but he ultimately gets like the asshole pass in life. And the reason why I want to say this is I do want to talk about the pizza parlor incident. And it's definitely a little unfortunate for the pizza parlor because on one side, Ric Flair posted to social media saying that he'll never go back there again. He spent over $1,500 with a family, I think over 10 people, with his family, over 10 people. And then the other thing about that is that he was saying that someone was taking too long in the bathroom, the manager was taking too long in the bathroom. And then you see the footage, which I just watched a few minutes ago. Woo! And what happened was that Ric Flair was clearly intoxicated, and it really looked like they were cutting him off, and he was verbally abusive. And he was saying some things like he wanted to pick a fight, and there was somebody else who wanted to pick a fight with him. And he was also calling, the bar staff like one of them a shithead. He told a woman, okay, I'm gonna give you $1,000 tip just to say to him, kiss my ass and other things like that. So, and it's also bad because the restaurant, it seemed like from the footage, it really, really showed that they were trying to de-escalate. They also understood, he was an older man. Obviously, Ric Flair's in his 70s, so obviously you have to understand that he is a celebrity. Any, attention you put on is going to be attention. And then the other thing, too, is you got to make sure that nobody wants to pick a fight with Ric Flair because obviously two things. He's an older person that can, if he fights like that, there's nobody who want to pick a fight with him. He looked like he was in his 20s or 30s. So obviously, that would put him in a dangerous situation. And then also, too, the other thing, too, is that, there are people who just are like, okay, well, here's this drunk guy. He's not thinking, I'm going to pick a fight with him just because, I just want to be like, okay, since you want to disrespect these people and they can't be professional and they can't take you outside and have a fight with you. This is not the 1800s. I'm going to do it on your behalf. He was in that situation, but they kind of de-escalated. There's a lot of de-escalation by the bar, but it's definitely bad because, it shows that Ric Flair can't really take control of his alcohol. He's going to live a lifestyle of, as people said, like a carny almost. It's his job to be, the drunk. It's his job to be the, I'm going to pay for the bar bill and I'm going to be the center of attention. And also just, almost like living in the 70s or 80s where more of that type of, getting drunk at a bar, paying for everybody, causing a couple of fights, having that good old time was more tolerated. It doesn't apply in 2020 world. We live in this time where social media really exposes this and it makes him look like a bully. And then also, too, he calls him a dipshit a bunch of times. So it makes him look like a bully. But honestly, he was not womanizing. If he was womanizing, there would be more of a cancel culture type of thing, really. And then the other issue is, again, how's Tony Khan going to respond to us? I think that, I hate playing devil's advocate, but the best thing for Tony Khan to do is do nothing about it. Because if he suspends Ric Flair or puts him in rehab or Alcohol's Anonymous, what's going to happen? Ric Flair is going to possibly just cancel and not go to AEW anymore. And it's going to turn into something where it's negative tension on AEW. The best thing I would say is for Tony to ignore this. But it does look hypocritical. You suspended Sammy Guevara for doing a spot that injured Jeff Hardy, but you have, somebody going to a restaurant drunk, bullying people and instigating a fight. That's drunken disorderly conduct right there. And then it's also that thing too, Sammy Guevara is Sammy Guevara. Sammy Guevara is definitely not Ric Flair. So even though, they're not the same people, they're not the same people, and the same level of wrestling, box office draw, it's not a good look. And you got to be, fair across the board in some certain cases. But I do think some cases you had to pull a double standard card. I would say that Tony should let this go and that be that, really. Just, okay, Ric Flair's off television for a while, and then when there's a storyline, he should come back, really, But I do feel that, it's definitely really sad and unfortunate, and definitely I think what people have to realize is that, as they say, sometimes when you meet your heroes, you're disappointed. And sometimes when you meet your heroes, you realize that they're assholes. And, Ric Flair is definitely an asshole in this situation. I really hope that he understands that, obviously, this is just, ruining other people's days. It's creating a hostile environment. If a fight broke out, it puts him at risk. It puts his family at risk, whatever they're celebrating. It could be a birthday. It could just be Cinco de Mayo. It could be, a get together. Maybe some of the grandkids or maybe some of the kids or the grandkids are graduating high school and all that really, it's just, or a day with grandpa, it just definitely sours all that, so it's not really respectful. And I understand, I think the story about Ric Flair was that he didn't grow up with his parents. He was sold as a baby to a family, and then he did grow up with, I think it was Vern Gagne trained him, and he was kind of abusive, and he did grow up with a lot of people abusing him. So I do think there may be a sense of him not processing trauma or really understanding how to not make himself about himself, because I think that maybe in the past he had to deal with other people hurting him and not do anything about it. And then I also think he also has to understand that people respect him for the work that he's done, for the character, for the entertainment. Be that person, embrace that. Don't embrace this, drunken jerk, really. There's really no good end to it. And again, if he really cares about AEW, he has to understand that AEW is not doing that well. So what would happen, as I said, in fantasy booking, what would happen if you had Jeff Jarrett, Jay Lethal have a feud, and then Ric Flair comes down and he says, I'm going to manage Jay Lethal. And then you had, Jay Flair or the Jay Lethal Ric Flair, and you actually made Jay Lethal a big star in AEW, and then really show that he could be somebody, because he's really an untapped gem, really, so definitely I think that if he really cares about attention, that would be the best type of attention, instead of going to a bar and disrupting an event and disrupting everybody's good day, including his family and himself and other people involved. So it's definitely unfortunate. I'm happy that this is a great example of social media showing the other side of the argument, because what Ric Flair said about, somebody being in the bathroom too long and feeling like people shouldn't go to this business, when actually, it was very clear from the footage that he was actually really the aggressor and the problem starter in the situation. This is a great example of how showing footage is appropriate. It's not like the CM Punk and Jack Perry thing, where it made CM Punk look more valid and made AEW and Tony Khan look more like a liar or drawing at strings, really, So I really just say it's very unfortunate, it's very selfish, and it's definitely, done by a person that doesn't have a lot of humility, and definitely somebody who lives in a life where he is given a lot of like ableism, and he's probably going to live and die that way, when he could be using his energy for other things, like helping Jay Lethal become a big star, or because ROH is not doing so well and they draw like 3,000 or 4,000 people. What would happen if you made him the ROH champion again? Or if you did ROH Jay Lethal versus with Ric Flair as the as his best friend and mentor and manager versus Swerve Strickland. That would be that would be something people would see. That would be a lot of fun, really. But he doesn't invest in that. He invests in just pizza parlor drama. So it's sad and unfortunate. Woo!